All right. Well, I have got top of the hour here, and I want to welcome each and every one of you. My name is Tonya, and we are in week number 2 of our beginners yoga series for Comeback Yoga. Comeback Yoga is a nonprofit organization based out of Denver, Colorado. We serve veterans, active duty military, and your support team. And we have started this series for you if you literally are brand new to yoga, never done it. Maybe you did it last week with me, or maybe you have tried yoga and maybe felt really lost or confused and kind of thought, well, maybe this isn't for me, but I've heard it's really good for me. And so this is a great place for you to start over, restart, hit the restart button, and begin again. I go over some of the very basic postures that are used in almost every yoga class. That is a generalization, but oftentimes you'll see some poses repeated over and over again in a yoga class. Sometimes you'll see certain poses, and sometimes you'll see other poses. And the interpretation of an instructor, for example, of what might be a beginner's yoga can vary from instructor to instructor. What I'm here to show you today are really the basic fundamentals, giving you good alignment tips and pointers so that when you do go into maybe an all levels class, you have kind of those basics that you need to make the yoga good and working for you. Everyone is built differently. Everyone has different injuries in their body, maybe surgeries. So we don't look at yoga as a one size fits all. Okay. Um, and a lot of times classes can be taught that way, but everyone is different. You are different than I am different. Your shoulders might be broader. You might have more muscle mass than I do. You might have more soft tissue than I do. You might be shorter or taller. There's so many different variations, right? Your arm length. So proportions really matter in yoga. Some people have really long arms and don't have any problems touching their toes. Are you one of those people that comes to a yoga class or doesn't take a yoga class because you say, I can't touch my toes? Well, I'm here to tell you, friend, it doesn't matter if you can touch your toes because that's not the end goal, right? Is not touching your toes. Yoga has so many other benefits other than touching your toes. And some people can touch their toes without ever doing a day of yoga because their arm and torso length is longer, their ratio is longer than their leg length. So keep that in mind when you think about doing something or feeling like you can't do something. It could very well just be your proportions. So, most importantly, as we go through yoga, is that you approach it with compassion, with an open mind, with curiosity. And so, unless you have any questions, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, if you were here last week, week number 1, I'll just do a quick review. We reviewed the sun salutation flow, which is the poses of mountain pose, warrior pose. We did some lunges. I taught you plank. We did cobra and upward facing dog, child's pose, and downward facing dog. So that was a lot, but that was our basic class. And we're going to be here for about 30 minutes today, going over warrior, 2 variations, chair pose, tree pose, and eagle pose. So uh, you might ask, well, how many warriors are there? We have 3 warrior poses: warrior 1, warrior 2, and warrior 3. They don't necessarily go in that order. We don't always do warrior one, then two, then three. We can. We can put them in a sequence and do them that way. Warrior one and warrior two tend to be more accessible. I consider them beginner poses, but they're used in all classes. They're used in advanced classes. So let's just call them more of a basic fundamental pose. Warrior three, I consider a more advanced pose. We're not going to be doing warrior three in this class. So you can take some of the other classes here online. If you have questions about warrior three, I can answer those either today or another day. All right. So let's go ahead and get standing. You don't necessarily have to have a yoga mat today. You might find yourself near a wall or a piece of furniture for our poses today, but you don't have to have really anything else. I always have my yoga blocks in case, but you don't need to have those. So we're going to start standing today. So I have my mat in this crisscross position just to be able to demonstrate to you different uh, orientations or viewpoints of the pose. So you only need one mat if you're using a mat today. So first we're just going to warm up a little bit through the joints before we do any kind of other movement. So let's just first start by warming up those wrists, and then we can warm up the elbows. And then let's go the other way with the wrists and the elbows. And then taking your hands to your shoulders. Other way. Okay. And then hands on your hips. And we'll just do a little bit of circling. You can have your hands on your knees even. And go the other way. Little bend in those knees. Okay. And then bringing your hands onto the knees, circling your knees. And going the other way, rolling around on those feet. Okay. And then we'll circle an ankle. Circle the other way. And let's do the other ankle. Of course, we're getting into the hips as well. Circle the other way. Okay. And then just do a couple shoulder rolls up, down, and back. All right. So we're going to go ahead and come into our warrior two pose. So generally speaking, the warrior two is going to be approximately as wide as your arm span. So that might feel quite wide, right? So we can flex the wrist and you can see that's still too, according to that general rule, that's going to be too narrow for me. So that's would be the length, right? You can see my wrists. If I point my fingers down, that is where my feet are. Now that is quite wide. That might not feel stable at all. Okay. So the next variation is just whatever is a comfortable width for you. Whatever you feel, it's going to be wider than hip distance and it's going to be wider than your shoulders for sure. So we have our mat. So the mat is kind of a good general guideline. Is you want to take up about maybe 2/3 of the mat. Okay. Now we start there with the legs. The feet are parallel. The next thing we're going to do is turn one leg out. So now, if we, without falling over, so you might need to hold on to something, put a little bend in your knee, just a little one for starters. If you look down at your feet, you want to see that your front foot is more or less at the center of your mat and maybe in line with the back heel or arch. So, generalization again there. So, go ahead and come up out of that for a second. Um, I'm going to show you from the front. Okay, so I'm placing my front foot about in the middle of the mat. You can see there. And then my other foot is going to go back. So now you can see, you can't really see my back foot, right? You can really maybe see my heel. So this is the alignment that we're looking for. Some mats have a stripe down the middle of the mat, which can be really handy. Okay, so I have that alignment in my legs. Okay, and then I'm going to bend the front knee. You can't really tell it's bent there, so I'm going to go to the other side. So you see it from a different angle. So the knee, so bending that front leg, and we want to have the knee over the ankle. So right now my knee is behind the ankle. So I want to come down a little bit so that the shin, my shin bone is more vertical. Now that can feel quite wide for some of you. So you might start a little narrower and then you bend your knee. So still, see, my shin is more vertical, okay? And for me this puts a little bit of strain on my knee. So going longer is actually more beneficial for me. So you might find that having a little shorter stance is a little bit better, or a little longer stance is better. Go ahead and come on out and let's walk it out. And then we'll do the other side in a second here. So let's go ahead and do the other side before we go into the full depth of the pose with the arms. Okay. So you're going to take the legs out. And again, just going out as wide as you like. Maybe over time, you find you actually can go a little bit wider. Okay. So you turn the leg out. Okay. So another important factor here is that the toes are pointing straight forward. The back foot can either be parallel to the short edge of your mat or slightly turned inward. So again, from the front. Okay. So heels lined up, front knee is bent, shin vertical. Okay, so that's your stance. You want to have that shin vertical. The warmer you get, the more advanced you get, you might actually come down so that the front thigh comes parallel to the ground. Now that's a big movement, right? That's a big stretch. Okay, so over time, you might find that that's a little more accessible. Walk it in, and then let's kind of walk it out. Okay, final stage. Let's come into our warrior stance. So again, maybe you're getting a little bit warmer. You can go a little bit wider. Turn the leg out. Okay. And now we're going to bend that front leg so that the knee is over the ankle, shin is vertical. Okay. This thing here is a really nice guideline. So again, maybe you're narrower and the knee is vertical, or the shin is vertical, or you're here. Okay. So choose what's comfortable for you. Now your torso. A lot of times I see this happening. That's a different kind of warrior. Okay. And you're going to come upright. So arms or hands about shoulder height. And then those arms go straight out. Again, now notice if you're more here or here. So you want to try to find some place in between where the shoulders are over the hips. Your legs are working really hard right now. I know they are. So just if you need to come out, go ahead and come out. Okay. So with those arms straight out now, parallel to the ground, look past your fingertips. That is a powerful warrior, right? All right. And then let's lower those arms down. Let's take it to the other side. I'll show from the front. And those arms going out. And you'll notice my torso isn't facing the leg. That's a different pose, right? It's more open. So we're here, right? So facing, my torso is facing the opposite wall. Arms are stretching out. This knee, important thing. A lot of times I see this happening in person. So chances are you've done it or you're doing it. I've done it. I still sometimes do it. So you want to keep that knee from moving inward and keep it moving outward. Okay, so the thigh bone lined straight up and the arms stretch out. And there you have it. You can look past those fingertips. Okay, great. And then come in. So longer holds can be more advanced as well. So catch your breath, grab some water if you need. I'm going to show two more variations of that warrior pose. Okay. One of them is called Sun Warrior or Exalted Warrior, and the other one is Extended Warrior. It's the same positioning of the legs. So find your leg position, turn the leg out. Okay. Open up the arms. Okay. Bend your front knee into that warrior two. Warrior two. Okay, now you flip the front palm, bring the arm up to the ceiling, side bend. This is exalted or sun warrior. Really nice stretch. What's most important is you're not leaning forward. right over those hips, feeling strong in the leg. Watch that front knee, right? So, again, tendency is maybe to collapse in. Another thing that happens is the leg tends to go straight. So, see if you can keep it bent. Okay, let's switch sides. Open the arms, bend the knee, and reverse. Sun warrior, exalted warrior. It has a few names. Okay, and then come on down. Okay, bring those feet together, walk it out. Third warrior in this series is the extended side angle or side warrior pose. Again, maybe some might not even consider it a warrior, but the legs are in the warrior position. So it's um, it's used a lot in that kind of sequencing. Okay, so your legs are wide. Turn your leg out. Stand up tall. You feel your torso lengthening. Arms go open. Now we bend the front leg, reach, 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 and then your forearm to your thigh. This back arm is going to come alongside the ear, maybe coming down nice and low, keeping mindful of that front knee, that it is not extending beyond that ankle. All right, that is your extended warrior coming on up. Let's do the other side, opening out, bend the knee and reach, and then forearm to thigh, and then the arm next to the ear. All right, there you have it. Not that you have to remember the names of all the poses, but it can be helpful, right? Because some classes, some teachers might only refer to the name of the pose rather than like orientation or positioning of your body. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, we're going to move on to now the uh, two balance poses. First one, actually, we're going to do chair first. So feet can be either hip distance, like so. I'll come back a little bit. Hip distance, or you can have your feet touching, like so. Your knees can be touching, feet touching, or your feet are separated, as are your knees. Okay. So from the side, whichever leg position feels the most comfortable for you, your hips are dropping back and down. Same thing here. Woo, trying to fall over. This is where you got to really send your counterbalance forward. So you're not dropping back too much in the heels, not too much in the toes. You want to be able to actually see your big toes by coming forward slightly. Okay. And you don't want to strain your back. You should feel neutral in the front and the back. Arms are going to go out to the sides, turn them up, and then bring them up overhead. That is your chair pose. All right. And then come on up. A lot of times, what I see with that also is the shoulders feel tight, right? So you can have this arm position, you can have this arm position. Some people do this, the hands come together. It depends on your shoulders. Okay. So remembering as you go through yoga, what did I say at the beginning? Body types make a big difference. You could be a muscle, a weight lifter, a bodybuilder, and have a lot of bulk in your shoulders, right? You might have had injuries in your shoulders. Maybe there's something going on with your neck. So you do what you can, you meet yourself there and keep working with it, right? Okay, so then the last, so then the two balance poses we'll do today, coming near a wall, finding, we're going to do tree pose. Same positioning in the feet where you have your feet about hip distance apart. Want to get really strong in the legs. Feet are nice and strong. You're pressing down. You're feeling your foundation, just like we did in mountain pose. I'm not going to go through mountain pose, but you might review the mountain pose from last week's class. All right, so we stand up nice and tall. Option, hand comes to your head. Press your hand into your head, head into your hand. You feel your whole body lengthen, maybe even get stronger. Now, maybe your other hand is on the wall or the furniture. Turn your other leg out. Keep your hand pushing. Heel can come to the ankle, foot comes to the calf, or your foot comes above your knee, not on your knee. Option is to bring your hand off of your head and place your foot up high. Any arm position you want that feels okay. A lot of times it's these variations. Okay. All right. So wherever you want to be with that. And then we take it down. So again, kind of building up those muscles so that it gets a little bit easier. Sometimes you'll find that balancing is easier later in the day. So give yourself permission to try it different times of the day. All right, so let's do it. Other side. Hand maybe onto the head if you like that. So literally finding the length that you need along your spine. Leg is strong. Bring that foot. Little kicks down to the floor, standing tall, foot to the calf or above the knee. Not on the knee. We don't want to be pushing that knee out. It can be very, very bad for the knee. And so we want to keep that knee stable, not necessarily locked, but we don't want to be pushing against it. All right. Wonderful. And then coming down. Okay. Great. Okay. I think we're actually going to end that with our standing poses and everything today so we can finish up with some floor stretches just to balance it out. I don't want you to leave today's class without feeling complete. So today we went over the different warrior, two variations, chair pose and tree pose. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and come down to the floor, all the way down onto your back, hugging knees into chest, maybe holding on to the back of your legs or the fronts. And then straightening out your bottom leg, hug the other knee to your chest. And then straighten that leg towards the ceiling. You can hold on somewhere along the back. Chances are hamstrings are pretty tight. We did a bit of that bending, so it's going to have tightened up those hamstrings. So you can kind of literally just kind of use your fingertips, press against your leg, and just kind of massage your leg there. All right, and then bring your leg across your torso for a little twist. Maybe you keep it high. Maybe you lower your leg all the way down by rolling onto the outside of your bottom hip. And then coming back. Take your leg out wide, just briefly away from you now. And then come back. Switch the legs, knee to chest, bottom leg straight. You could also have your bottom leg bent, especially if your back is really tight or if you have any discomfort. That can reduce some of the strain or pulling on your back. And then taking your leg up towards the ceiling, bottom leg bent or straight. Taking your leg across. And then out to the side, maybe bending that knee, bottom knee. The standing work that we do is equally as important. Go and bring those legs back together as the seated or the lying poses. We get more stretch without strain when we're on the floor. And gives us the opportunity to just wind back down. So, placing your feet down, we're going to stay here for just about 2 minutes here. So, we always like to close class as part of the yoga practice is with just a little brief um, relaxation period. This period is really beneficial in not only reintegrating back into the rest of your world, but also to integrate all that you've done today. This part can be the hardest part, as being still can sometimes mean that we go into our mind and that there ends up being a lot of activity there that can be disruptive to our physical body as well. And then we find we go down these rabbit holes of whatever. So just use these next minute or so. I want you to focus on breath with me. So we'll breathe in slowly and deeply, creating a little space in the back of the throat, a little openness in the roof of the mouth. Your lips can be open or closed, and then release that. 2 more breaths. Inhaling, full, cheeks relaxed, jaw relaxed. And exhale completely out as much as the body will allow. One more time. Inhale and exhale. And we'll just kind of start to awaken the body, moving those legs side to side, back and forth. Stretch out through the arms and legs. And then coming up however you'd like to. Usually it's a slow arrival to a seated position or to standing, whatever you like. And so then we oftentimes will close just again a reintegration. Eyes can be open or closed back into our waking world of interaction and activity and maybe doing work in the world, seeing people. But for now, let's find that inner stillness inside, knowing that this can be accessed either even later in the day, later in our world, because it is a place that lives inside of us now. It's a place that we can return to anytime we might feel a little bit overwhelmed. So you can find those breaths, find those ways to tap into just this moment that is all right. And eventually, over time, the more you practice, the longer you can find this stillness and the easier it gets to return to it. All right. Thank you so much for being here today for class number 2 of our beginner series. I will see you next week. We'll be doing more floor work next week, so more stretches. And then the last week, week number 4, we are pulling it all together for a long class. We'll be doing the last class, will be about 45 to 50 minutes long, and just putting it all together. All right. Thanks again for being here. I look forward to seeing you next time. Don't hesitate to make some comments in the chat, and then that way we can catch up and get to know each other. All right. Take care.